Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast. I couldn't be more excited about today's guest because we're going to share something with you that I think so many of you are going to be able to relate to, get a lot of insights into your own life around. And today I'd like to introduce you to Brittany Snyder, who is a founder and principal designer of Studio 36, a space where intuitive design meets sacred intention. And she also just came out of my Becoming the Medicine program, where we took her through the deep dive that I take a lot of my clients who are actually taking a medicine journey, but we didn't use any medicine at all. And so I want you guys to kind of hear from Brittany the experience that she had, because there was a lot that didn't even involve the journey itself and how that has changed certain things within her life. And I think you guys are going to be very pleasantly surprised at probably how much you're going to relate to in this podcast. So definitely buckle up. But Brittany, so glad to have you on the show and being seen and using your voice and all that wonderful stuff of stepping into that next level identity that you are right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Nicole. Excited to be here, and hello to everyone listening. As you said, one of the main reasons that I came to you is because I did have a huge fear of speaking out and being seen in public, and it's something that we very much worked through, and we'll get into it later, but it was definitely part of that 8-week journey, and I've explored it a lot, and I think come a long way. So very excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's kind of like, I feel very blessed in the sense that the universe always sends me the best clients.
Mm.
I feel like you are definitely a dream client, and that's one thing that I put out in through my business when I was building, is that I just want to work with my dream clients who it's a synergistic flow of like, they bring out the best in me and I bring out the best in them, right? And that's what ultimately any of you who are going into business for whatever you're doing, is that that's what you ultimately want. And you were certainly a dream client of mine. And I knew it right from the jump when we started talking. But why don't you share with the audience why you decided to take Becoming the Medicine in the first place?
Yeah, so it was very serendipitous. It really is, ask and you shall receive. I remember I was sitting on my bed and I was going over in my head, I'm like, I know I keep getting these pings that I need to start being more seen. I need to start, being posting more on Instagram and speaking at public forums and just, talking about my knowledge and what I know. I need to start sharing it. And I'm like, but I'm nervous to do it. I don't know how. Like, there's just all these things going around in my head. I'm talking to my guides. I opened my phone, my email, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was something like, are you asking for questions and you're not getting the answers? And da da da. It was literally, I felt like the questions I was just asking my guides, they were answered in your email. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's my answer. And I've loved you for so long. I've been a huge fan of yours for years. I watched all of your bi-monthly tarot card readings. So I knew that it was a great fit, and I was really excited to work with you. So I just like didn't even think about it, just immediately signed up.
Yeah, and you have actually done plant medicine in the past. So interestingly for you, you had an actual reference point of
Mhm.
when we actually got into the journeys of the creation, how your body was able to recreate chemical reactions that are usually induced by the plant medicine.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about that. So my history with plant medicine. I am very well versed in it. Um, so I was a little rebellious in my younger years, and I actually did mushrooms for the first time when I was 15. The first time I did them, I wasn't thinking of it as plant medicine. I was thinking of it as this is going to be fun. Let's see what happens. Let's go. But after that first time, I really realized, and I didn't have the words for it back then, that I do now. I just knew that it was such a transformative experience that it was not to be used lightly and it was to be respected. And so every time after that, and I not to say I did it all the time, but I did it when I needed it, when there was something going on in my life that I needed to work through or have acceptance on, like I would take them and it would, I know that mushrooms are psychotropic and a lot of other drugs are for escapism. I feel like mushrooms actually are the thing that will come and, smack you with reality in the face because it shows you your shadows. It shows you the parts of yourself that you need to work through or that your subconscious, might be trying to get you to look at, but you can't. So yeah, every time I would do it, it always gave me this just greater feeling of acceptance of just life, and not that I would roll over and just say, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. It was like, no, I actually understand. I understand humanity better. I understand people better. I understand the situation better in myself. So I always treated it that way. Now I know it to be the amazing plant medicine it is. And I've also I have done other things as well. When I was in Thailand, I was there for 6 months. I was studying Reiki, stayed in an ashram for a little bit, and it was actually during COVID, and that's why I was there for so long. And I did ayahuasca journey, and I also did with a Peruvian shaman actually, and then I did a bufo journey. Both things are DMT, as you know, the core substance. Um, and we'll just say that for anyone, I just want to make this note for anyone looking to do either of those things, ayahuasca is very much more of like the mother energy, and bufo is definitely more masculine. So um, it's a bit of a wild ride. I won't get into the details, but I'm very familiar with what it feels like in your system. So much so that when they tell you to do mushrooms after, and it brings back the feeling of the DMT, it actually releases from your pineal gland. I think it gets kind of stored in there. And so I got really good at actually, when I would take the mushrooms, being able to control the release of the DMT and create sort of like a portal in front of me. Never went through it, but I created it. So
I've
I'm very
seen that
familiar.
portal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I'm very familiar with what that looks like, what it feels like, and literally how it traveling, the DMT as I know it, traveling through your nervous system and how that is. And so circle back, one of the other reasons why I wanted to do this 8-week journey with you is again, um I have this background in plant medicine, but about 5 years ago I actually got really sick. Something called POTS or mast cell activation that kind of go hand in hand. And my nervous system really wasn't in a place that I could be taking anything like that. I just couldn't, my stress levels were maxed out. I couldn't deal with any substances like that in my system at the time. So I've been completely sober for 5 years. I don't know if sober isn't the right word, but I haven't done any journeys for the last 5 years. And when I saw your this course, it really spoke to me in that I really would like to learn how to bring back that the lessons and the feeling of the plant medicine and being in that flow state without actually taking it. Because I'm that person that it's very creative for me, and so I would use sometimes those substances to help me with my projects or help me in creative ways. So being able to induce that naturally is very important to me.
Yeah, no, like I mean, my entire womb of activation course came from a mushroom journey. The whole thing, and within 3 weeks, I had it created, downloaded everything, and was launching it.
Yep.
One journey, and it's like a super powerful course. And so creatively, I too was sometimes like, good, let me just do a little journey, get a little creative juices going.
Yeah.
But now it's and again, it's not that I don't like going on a mushroom journey every now and then, but I also love that I can create it on demand when I want to, just through like starting to stimulate, knowing how to get my body into that place and how to stimulate it. So, for everyone to understand, when you're going on a journey, and whether it's mushrooms or bufo or DMT or ayahuasca, whatever the plant medicine is, when you're in that state, it's what I call a state of expansion, right? It's where a lot of people typically will say they meet God, and it's because there's so much energy and love, and everything just doesn't seem so serious, in a sense where, like, things that would normally get you very upset or very in fear, all of a sudden you're like, you can look at it without the same kind of triggers, so to speak, right? Which is why a lot of, PTSD and war vets are using mushrooms to help them in their healing.
Mhm.
And but like it's very helpful in understanding that that expanded state is why people get these epiphanies and these deeper perspectives or views, like 360-degree views of something where they were only looking down one particular tunnel or angle of degrees. And all of a sudden, the mushrooms or whatever the plant medicine is will show you something you never would even think of. And it's because your perception's widening, your awareness is heightened, your body's feeling so much more. There are certain somatic memories coming up that could be good, could be like something that you haven't felt in a long time that you need to feel. And all of this is the state of expansion, which is why you said, you love the creative flow. Creation comes in. You get creative, you get inspired, you see a pathway that you've never seen before. You're like, oh, that's where I need to go. And so, knowing that, I think the next level of mastery for a lot of us who are doing the healing and spiritual development is, how do I have the ability to create that for myself so I can use it in my day-to-day living? Because let's just first be honest, you cannot stay in the state of expansion for eternity, okay? It's not what, like, everyone might think, oh, euphoria, like that's where I want to be. No, you will burn out. Your whole body will burn out, like your nervous system will be fried. It's not ideal. And in order to manifest, you can't stay in the actual state of expansion. You have to be here in 3D actually doing the work. So, but it's really nice to be able to go from waveform, which is what the expansion state opens us up to. It makes us more in flow. It opens up any kind of resistance or blocks. And then when you're ready to manifest, you go back into particle form and you start building. So for you, we'll get into the journey in a little bit, but it's kind of nice for you to be able to have both perspectives and understanding that it is possible to create that state. And I know people know this, but it's one thing to know it in your head. It's another thing to live it from your body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something I want to expand on that too. So it's funny. Right before we got on this call, I actually did a little mini 20-minute journey on my own. And growing up when I would do mushrooms, like I said, it was a time when I would find expansion and acceptance for things. And I would constantly, like, one of my friends used to call me the great philosopher because I would just sit there being blah blah blah, like rattling off all these ideas. And you get the downloads you get when you're in that state are crazy. You're just like an open to source, like a channel. And right before we were on this call and I was doing my little mini session, I actually got a little download about, I was watching your video earlier about the ego death in order to step into your new identity. And it just came through. I'm like, oh, this is my ego death happening right now. It just became so clear.
Yes, and that is something that we worked on and we do work on in Becoming the Medicine, is helping you create that new identity where we're letting go of what's been holding you back, the identity that's been holding you back, keeping you where you were. and not allowing you to move forward in the ways that you want to and the ways that you see yourself moving forward, and helping to rewire that new identity in, not just through the journey, which does help with neural path rewiring, but also through practical exercises and things that we did on our calls and stuff that I gave you to do on your own. So let's kind of jump into the beginning because there's, like I said, this program is what I take my clients when they're going on one-to-one journeys or if they're at my retreats, right? So we do similar work, but just when we get to the actual journey part, there is no mushrooms. So on day one, the first week, I think what was really important, we kind of like one of the things that I'm teaching you guys, because in order for you to enter into the state of expansion, you have to know how to let go and surrender. The body needs to surrender to open up, right? And that's key. And so, obviously, when we're doing mushrooms, we use a decent dose to override that in many places where people will hold on, but that will help people go into surrender. But when you're not using the medicine, you really have to prep yourself for surrender. So, in order to do that, we had to look at where there was a lot of resistance. And with you, I feel like this is where the audience is going to really be like, oh, wow, that's something I am dealing with. There were two. One was like you feeling like you were a fraud or like that imposter syndrome, which I've been through myself. And also not trusting your body to hold the expansion. So which one do you want to start with?
We can start with the imposter syndrome. I
Okay.
feel like that's a good segue into the next one. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny, like logically looking at my life and what I've done, I've been a student for so long. Always still learning. I've been preparing for what I do now my entire life, whether I knew it or not. Even with the mushroom journeys, like it's all been a part of a journey to get me to this point, and that journey will continue on to more things. So it's funny, we're always thinking of ourselves as like, I need to know everything now before I need to know everything in this moment, or else it means I don't know anything. And it's like, no, you're always going to be learning, you're always going to be expanding, and it's okay that you don't know everything. So, yeah, that was a huge thing for me. And it's obviously, I think that's probably something as being a business owner, especially in a creative field, it's probably going to be something that, rears its head from time to time. But I definitely was feeling it. I think when we tapped into it, I was feeling it a lot in my sacral chakra, which is the as you were saying, the womb energy,
Yeah, the second chakra.
yeah, and that's
All
the
the
creative.
one where you hold all your abundance codes.
Yes, yeah, right. And it's the creative part also, which makes sense because my business is creative. So there's, whenever you're putting something out there that's creative, you're putting out a piece of your soul, right? It's something that you've created from inside you. So there's always that little bit of fear there with that. But I think too, it's also like, yeah, when all of the there's no one to ask. Like I'm a solopreneur, so there's no, like I have people in my industry I can ask questions to, but there's really no one. I don't have a boss I can go ask. So I'm the answer stops with me, you
Mhm.
know? So if I feel like I don't know, or if I feel like I might not know something, it's like I don't know what I don't know. That obviously creates a lot of nervous system dysregulation because I don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of what we worked on was also kind of the fear of the unknown as well as being a part of it. Um, but something that really helped in that first session was the surrender aspect and the somatic presencing to help anchor in um the nervous system regulation into the womb space and into the trust coming from that space in myself.
Yeah, so I think it's important for the audience to also know that you have done a shit ton of nervous system regulation work because, like you said, and this is so common, and this is something that we even touched on, to like throughout this whole program, was part of you feeling like a fraud was because you had this most mystical experience when you were in Thailand, big spiritual awakening. You know, you were doing the plant medicine journeys, you were exploring your own self. Like you thought you had all the answers, right? And like you had the clear direction, you were being shown this is what you're going to go home and do, and this is how it's all going to unfold. And
Mhm.
then you get home and it falls flat. Like it does not unfold the way you were expecting, right? Which took you into a journey of like a very deep, like almost like being at war with your own body, right?
Mhm.
A journey of being at war with your own body and the health conditions that it brought on. And also like you feeling like you hit the bottom when you were at the top. Of course, when you feel like you're at the top and then you hit the bottom, it always feels the worst.
Yeah.
But this is where you kind of went through an ego death back then.
Mhm.
And in that moment, you're like, shit, do I even really know anything? Right. So, can you share to the audience? Because that is something I literally just went through in the last 6 months. So, this is just something that continuously, I think, happens to us as we're going to our next level.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So, yes, okay. So, I was in Thailand for 6 months, as I said. Hi, amazing. I'm like, I'm the fucking shit. Like, I got all this figured out. This is gonna be great. Let's go. I get back to the United States and just felt lost. I went back to a job working for another designer who I love. She's amazing, but there was nothing creative about it. It just didn't wasn't where I wanted to be. Um, I wasn't happy. I essentially just wasn't happy and I didn't know what to do. I was going to move to California. I was like, all of these things were in the air and I just couldn't find my footing. And I think I had such a, of course, what's the root of suffering? Expectation and attachment. I had such an expectation and attachment to a specific outcome that I had envisioned for myself and I wanted it now. You know, it's got to happen right now. Well, you know, reality doesn't work like that. So, it was definitely when I was in Thailand and I was doing amazing. I got my Reiki mastership attunement, um, feeling really good, getting, you know, all of the magical things happening, awakening, all that stuff, like really feeling like I could finally see the truth and a lot of things you talk about, I'm sure your listeners can understand with all the things. That was really the awakening time for me. And then it was almost like a fall from grace when I got back. And it was like a rite of passage, I think, going through that, you know, attunement and all of these things. And then my physical body had to level up because I think all of the physical things that I had been ignoring my whole life finally caught up to me because it was like 6 months after getting back from Thailand that shit really hit the fan and I got really sick. And that's pretty fast after, from feeling amazing to just feeling like I was gonna die essentially. So, and being in a really, really dark place. So I really do think that that ego death was a rite of passage and it was something that needed to happen in order for me to really stop looking elsewhere for the answers and stop looking to things like, not that there's anything wrong with mushrooms, because I'm definitely going to do them again at some point, but stop looking elsewhere. You have the answers inside you. And I remember right before I got really sick, I had done a mushroom journey and the DMT came back.
Mm.
And I remember hearing, it was my own voice, but it was on repeat saying to me like, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're looking for? Like, just kept out because I kept, when I was in Thailand, I kept saying I want to meet my guides, I want the answers to this, I want the answers to that, I want to talk to them, you know. And it was like this thing, what is it that you're looking for? And I couldn't get that out of my head. And now I'm realizing, oh, it was really trying to get me to see that everything I need is within me. I just have to find a way to tap into it, which is where this awesome program steps in.
Yeah. And that's, you know, so everyone really understands that you you can do so much work, whether it's a lot of healing work, a lot of spiritual development, you know, going through who knows how many deep layers of spiritual awakening, seeing all these different truths. And then when you feel like you've got all these answers and you're ready to kind of implement them into real world scenarios, sometimes it can fall flat because, like you said, there was a certain expectation that, oh, now that I can see it and know it, it's all, of course, it's going to all fall together, like fall in place. And that's very rarely the case. Sometimes, if you're super lucky, that sometimes happens, right? And that's probably part of the design of your contract. But very often, it does not. And it becomes frustrating. And then the self-doubt starts to creep in. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? And like, do I need to do more healing? Do I need to do more this? And it's like, I'll say to you guys, it's there comes a point where you actually overload your entire system, your mind, your body with healing and spiritual development. You kind of just got to step back for a little bit because all of a sudden you have so much information that you've collected from all these different places and your body's got all this information that it's supposed to be working with and you don't know which direction to take it. There's all these different directions that you seem to be pulled into, and that's why people get paralyzed and they're like stuck and they're like, well, what do I do? Do I do this or do I do that? And if I do that, am I missing out on something that's over here? And it's this constant clusterfuck, okay, of having too much information without actually going through the processing of it all during while you were accumulating. And this is why it's good to sometimes go a little slower, which is part of my new identity. Of like take your time, and you don't have to rush to the end and, start working with it, building it, developing it, and then go back and learn a little more and then, go there. So this is something that is key. So when, you know, Brittany and I were working together on that first day, which was super important. We had to really go into the body because I love using the body to understand where the fear or the resistance is, because if we're getting the body to surrender, we got to know where it is. And with all of your nervous system regulation, we actually were able to get you to a place where we can regulate the body pretty quickly,
Mhm.
which was super cool. So when we kind of worked through that, how were you feeling when it came to understanding where this resistance and fear was in your body and how quickly you were able to actually regulate it?
Yeah. So I wanted to add something too that kind of flows into that. So back to the imposter syndrome, a big part of it was that I had, again, just got my Reiki attunement and I'm like, oh, I'm a healer. I'm supposed to be a healer now, right? And then I get really sick. Well, a healer shouldn't be sick.
Yeah.
How can I heal others if I can't even heal myself? So
Best
again,
healers have been very sick.
yeah, and now I'm realizing that this sickness and honestly my entire life, the things that happened to me in my childhood, the instability, all the things that happened, the nervous system dysregulation, it's actually a blessing and it's what is creating it's what's been prepping me to be able to do what I am doing now and understanding people on an empathetic level and actually been there and can and know a doctor, like you can always help someone heal better when you've been in that situation yourself. So I'm seeing it actually as a blessing now. What I once saw as a curse and something that was going to hold me back and made me feel like a fraud is actually the thing that gives me the most knowledge and experience than a lot of other people maybe who are doing the same thing. And so I would beg anyone to reframe anything in their mind that they maybe see as a negative in their life that is making them feel like a fraud. And maybe there's a way to reframe it. And maybe there's something you just can't see that's going to happen in the future and it'll become clear.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things. That's why I've built a lot of my programs around. I love the 12th house of astrology. My whole retreat is designed around it. All of my programs are designed around the 12th house of astrology because it's dubbed like the house of the secret self, sometimes the house of self undoing. But it's basically where all of your darkest secrets lie. But within the darkest secrets are also your deepest and most powerful gifts and strengths and
Yeah.
talents that you're meant to use in this lifetime. And so a lot of your hidden purpose can be found in the 12th house. And this is why we do a lot of that deeper work and turning fears into allies. And
Mhm.
so, one of the fears that we needed to work with to turn into an ally for you, and this is something I see with all of you in the audience, I'm going to tell you at least 70% of you, okay, have this issue. And that is you have an issue with anger, okay?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I'm working on this with clients. But when you are super empathic, right? And you feel a lot. Obviously, when someone's angry, you feel how disturbing that is, how much it makes you want to go inside. And so the last thing you would want to do is be angry, but anger is a very valid emotion. We have it for a reason, but a lot of what I've seen across the board, and this is something I dealt with myself, so I've been there too, is that you know, you don't want to feel your anger because there's deep down, you wonder if it will, one, take control over you, turning you into a bad person who does maybe something to hurt someone else, which is the biggest fear, right? Or even just the identity of like, no, 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 I'm a spiritual person. I don't get angry at
That's
people,
what I
right?
was going to say. Yep.
And so anger we found for you and with so many others, this is a case that we had to turn it into one of your allies. So when we first started working together, it was about losing control. You were afraid of losing control,
Mhm.
becoming a bad person, which losing control would lead to disappointing people and not being the good girl, which is something I was one of the reasons why I never wanted to get angry because being the good girl is what got me my love and affection and attention from like my parents. So, can you go into what your relationship with anger was and how it was for you kind of even growing up and relating to it?
Yeah, there's such a negative connotation around anger. I think especially as women too. If we're angry, it's unbecoming, it's not ladylike, it's you really should not act that way, you know. And growing up, yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely there. I grew up with a lot of anger in my household and in my family. Actually, a lot of people were very angry. There was a lot of rageful outbursts in from many, not many family members. Let's put it that way. So for me, it definitely made me feel like anger was scary. Anger was something I didn't like to experience from others. It made me feel very dysregulated. It made me feel very uncomfortable. And like you said, yeah, I don't want to make others feel angry. I think, but with that said, I think there's a healthy way to express your anger and a very unhealthy way to express your anger. So clearly those were the unhealthy ways. But as we worked through anger and what it meant to me, okay, so anger, whether I realized it or not, was always my ally. I mean, if I wasn't angry, I probably never would have discovered mushrooms. I probably would have done a lot of things because anger is that movement energy. It gets you to do things. It's I think you were saying that before too. It's like very much a movement.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the Aries energy, right? The
yeah, Aries
ruling
energy.
planet of Aries is Mars, which represents anger, and it's the initiation. It's what starts things, it ignites things, it gets you moving forward.
Yeah,
So, like, this is why so many people are stuck in where they're at and wish they were like who knows, months, years, sometimes decades ahead of where they actually are. And I'm telling you guys, if you knew how to like work with your anger and remove the resistance around it, so much shit would start moving forward in your life.
yeah. So it definitely did for me. So there's a like I think feel like people pleaser goes hand in hand with this,
Yeah.
and definitely recovering people pleaser. Even today, I had to speak with a colleague and be very, you know, frank about certain things and not mean, but just, hey, I would appreciate it if you did it this way and not that way. I just wasted a lot of time or whatever it is, you know. And seeing that as you're not being mean, I was upset and I was angry, but I didn't lash out at them. I just let them know how I felt. And doing so, now that person will respect my wishes and understand where I'm coming from better instead of in the past stuffing it down and having this ball of stuffed anger that just, you know, all of a sudden explodes. And then that was where, you know, it came in that fear of losing control is that I wouldn't express my anger regularly. Like we would joke about my boyfriend. He he has no issue with that. When he's angry, you know it, but he lets it out. He doesn't hold it in. And
Mhm.
that's, even though maybe that can be uncomfortable for someone, it is better for him. His nervous system can let go. He can face that tiger and then move on instead of holding it on for later. And you just, you haven't fully, like, nervous system dysregulation is when you haven't, your nervous system hasn't been able to fully process an event or an emotion. And so it's always looking to complete that cycle. So if you're not allowing your nervous system to get angry and complete that cycle of anger, then it's just going to stay stuck in your system and it's going to come out in other ways and probably very unhealthy ways.
Okay, so let's talk about how the anger was presenting for you in your body that you didn't realize until we were actually exploring this more. Because for you, like that anger was kind of coming up in this war with your body,
Yeah.
right? Of trying to fight the feeling of fight, like, oh, and you would just try to calm everything down, right? And it's like, I get it. Look, we all want a calm nervous system, right? We all want our bodies to feel safe and all that, but we can't do it at the risk of dismissing the fact that there's certain emotions that have to be honored, right? So, can you share with the audience how that kind of came out for you?
Yeah, so I think I told you at one point that I realized that I'm actually just a very angry person, again, because I wasn't allowing it to come up. And because of that, it honestly is a huge part of what has caused all of my chronic symptoms. So the mast cell activation, that's literally your nervous system's like mast cell mediators, which are the, just give you a little like science background. The inflammatory markers in your body are like, it's mast cells are one of those. And when your body feels under threat, it releases those. So they're literally your body's built-in army. So clearly, when you're angry, you're going to start releasing that stuff along with a whole other cocktail of other hormones and chemicals and things. But you're releasing those little soldiers, and they're going to fight a war that's not there. And it's because it doesn't exist. You're creating an issue with something that you could just deal with in a healthy way by reframing it and seeing it as something that is human and that is okay. And it's healthy actually.
Yes. Yes. And okay, so this is so important. Okay, everyone in the audience, if you feel like you've just kind of like for a second, I don't know, you got distracted or whatever, please come back right now because I cannot express to you guys enough how important it is to understand what Brittany just shared with you, because this is what's going to get you unstuck from wherever you are in your life. If you've been facing these issues of trying to move forward, get something started, but you always find a way to, like, I don't know, either you're procrastinating or some life event always shows up just as you're about to get started, or I don't know, something just happens, okay, that delays the initiation of all of this. It would behoove you all to ask yourself if anger might be one of your biggest resistance inside. And this is why when I do like this work with you guys is that we tend to, and I see this in so many people, anger is one of my go-tos unless there's something way more important, because it will show itself if it is more important. But anger is one of those things that so many people in the healing space and spiritual space have so much resistance to, that we have to unblock the body in order for you to go into an open, expanded state. So, not only that, but shit, your body, here's the thing. You went through such a big awakening, right? In 2020, when you're in Thailand and all that kind of stuff. So, guess what happened? You were ready to move forward, and your body's like, well, hold the fuck on. Because we're carrying shit from like way back here that you haven't dealt with, that like does not allow you, your body, to hold the expansion, which is a very more high frequency state. So it's going to trigger your body to feel unsafe, to feel like it cannot hold that energy, right? So this was like a big moment for the
Mhm.
revealing, like, going into the next couple of weeks. So for you, what I thought was so, and you don't have to go into all the details, okay? But after our first week, when we did meet up on the second week and we were going through the anger and everything, right? You had encountered, and this happens all the time, guys, whenever you're starting to quantum leap, okay, there is that, listen, there is a what do I call it? A fluctuation phase, okay? It's the part where you're transitioning. You've got one foot in one new world of your new identity, and you're one foot still in the old identity. You haven't fully jumped yet. And so what will happen is echoes of the past experiences, patterns that you're trying to finally be done with will show themselves, right? And so what happened is you had an experience after we had this amazing healing work happening and all that kind of stuff. And then we come into that session, literally, I think it just happened the day before or something. And it was so perfect because it was highlighting how important the anger was for you and showing you it was not something to be feared, but something to actually make your ally and like utilize with full mastery. Can you share not just share what you're comfortable with?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So again, like I know this isn't about manifestation, but honestly, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
Um, when you start unlocking parts of your subconscious and dancing with the universe and showing the universe that you are leveling up and you're going to start not you're you're playing out a new identity and you're not going to accept the things that you used to accept, it's going to start testing you, right? And it's going to start showing you that and saying, okay, like, are you really ready for this to level up, or are you going to stay back in that old identity? So it starts giving you the opportunity to move forward. So yeah, right after that happened, two things. One, I had a very upsetting situation with a client where I very sadly had to proceed with legal. I had to sue them for something,
Hmm.
which I don't like to do, but sometimes it happens. It
Yep, no,
happens.
it does happen. Yep.
It happens. And again, like that was just a side note. The reason it even happened was the people pleaser and not speaking my truth and not showing up for myself. That's why it happened in the first place. So anyway, that I was actually suing them for the second time. Long story, but that had just started, and then I think the day before our session, I had another incident with a colleague who, um, oh yeah, so this was all related around money. It was all related around money, and obviously money is tied to self-worth, right?
Hmm.
So, something else had happened with a colleague, and essentially it was like the universe is just withholding funds from me, and it was like, okay, when are you gonna level up? When are you gonna start standing up for yourself? So I did, and I just want to know, this is perfect timing for this. A week after we completed our 8-week journey, I got a text from the client that I was suing saying, "Oh, I'm 5 months later. I'm so sorry that this is delayed. I'm sending the check out now," sends me a picture of the check. And like they're sending like, well, once it's, in my hands and deposited, we'll be okay. But yeah, just funny that like right after the journey.
Oh, wow. Look at that. You are
Yeah,
in such a good state of receiving and standing in your truth.
yeah. So again, not this isn't about manifestation, but I really do think that
But it
they
is about manifestation
yeah.
in a sense of, look, manifestation sometimes gets this weird, you know,
Mhm.
it's just got this weird energy around it, right? But at the end of the day, you are creating your entire reality. You are asking for more. You are calling in for more. So everything that you're trying to call in for, you have to physically be willing to receive it. And a lot of people are like, no, 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 I'm ready. I'm ready to receive it. Like I want it. But can your body hold it? Can
Yes.
your body actually hold it? So you called in the client, but when it came to actually getting paid, you know, for all the work that you've done, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, well, hold on a second, So, and this is what I see across the board. And this is something that's happened to me, whenever it happens to you, no matter where you are in your journey, whenever you're going into the next level, you're going to have to face this test. It's just something that happens. It doesn't matter how good you are or whatever. It's always a next level kind of test. And it's because you're going into a place where you're asking for more. And whether that's more health, more love, more money, whatever it is. And so you have to be wired with a new identity because trust me, your old identity does not know how to hold it. So you got to be willing to let that identity go. But like that new identity has to know within the body how to hold it and feel safe holding that kind of frequency because it is a bigger energy.
Yeah. Yeah, your nervous system has to be regulated enough to level up in that way. And I'm happy to report that this journey really has helped me with that. And it's made me feel a lot more secure and a lot more comfortable asking. Like that was a big part of it was yeah, being people pleaser, being too nice, not wanting to seem angry or harsh or demanding, especially as a woman, that's such a faux pas. And I'm so much more comfortable like asking for what I want now and asking for what I need and just putting my foot down like, hey, you're not paying me, I'm not doing the work. That's that's the you pay me first. Like that's how this works.
Oh, it's like music to my ears. I'm so happy to hear all of this because what I think was so cool was that while at first you felt like anger meant you would lose control, what you realized was anger actually allowed me to take control.
Mhm. Yep.
Big, big people, please understand that one. Most of you feel like you're afraid to feel your anger because you're going to lose control. But anger is what allows you to finally take control of a situation, take control of your reality, right? So it's just a matter of learning how to utilize your anger and master it. But you won't know how to do that until you're willing to feel it at its full veracity. So, we got you doing a couple of exercises with that, which I thought were kind of fun. But it was interesting to see, your how you were engaging and interacting, and then how your reality started to unfold as a result in real
Yeah.
time. I mean, this was happening in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely like that situation that happened with the colleague. You could quote unquote say I didn't lose control, but like it was the level of anger that I would have had if I lost control. Like the fear that I had, the fear, the level of anger that I was fearing because I thought I would lose control was where I was at. And I didn't lose control. I was really, really pissed, but it got me to speak up for myself and I spoke my truth and, you know, buildings didn't fall. It was okay. We're fine now, and I guess, but but like I got what I needed. I got what I needed. I said what I needed to say and it worked out for me. It
Yeah.
didn't I didn't
And
blow up.
so you went from worrying about being the not the good girl, right?
Yeah.
To becoming the girl who doesn't get fucked.
Yes.
Right? Because this is where like you become a pushover, you get taken advantage of because of the people pleasing, because you're afraid to actually assert yourself using your anger, like to kind of push back. Because trust me, if people don't feel like you're going to push back, they will like encroach upon you even more and take more from you. And so one of the things for me too that I realized with my journey with anger was like the more that I'm willing to say no, like that ain't happening, like not around me, not with me, is like I get fucked with less, So good, because I don't need that shit and that chaos in my life. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Anger reduces some of the shit and chaos in your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good anger
So
is a good thing.
yeah. Okay. So let's go into some of the fun stuff. I mean, it was all kind of fun. I mean, I thought it was fun because I love witnessing all of this. Like, I honestly, this is why you, I literally was high after every single one of our calls. Like, I felt like I was on a high because I just love seeing the progress with my clients. And I feel this way after every client that I get off the call with. But I feel so lucky to do this work. But I'll tell you guys, like in the last 6 months, I have questioned whether I should be doing this at all anymore. Like that's how low of an ego death I had to go into. But it wasn't about if I should be doing it anymore. It was, it had to be a completely different identity and only doing what actually really like lit me up and was working at the level that I knew I should be working at. So for you, we did our first, my first guided journey of someone who's not taking the plant medicine. So this was like, I'll tell you guys, I was a little nervous. I really was. I was like, okay, I know I could do this, but you just never know until it actually happens, right? But one of the things, and I think this is something that I kind of talked to you about before you actually did a speaking event, right? Because that did happen before our second journey.
Yes.
But guys, one of the things I keep telling myself when I'm going into a situation where I feel like, okay, this is the first time I'm really doing it. It's not where I'm fully like, comfortable. Like I've done it so many times. It's second nature now. Whenever that I'm getting into that situation where I feel like I'm hitting a new level and I'm having to perform, so to speak, um, I tell myself, Nicole, at the end of the day, the first and foremost thing you have to do is have fun. If you're not having fun, it's not going to be the way you want it to be, right? And so it's like, don't take it so seriously that you don't enjoy the moment because at the end of the day, it's what I love doing, right? So why wouldn't I have fun with it? So we go into the journey and we had worked on your intention and all the things that I do with clients when they're preparing for such a journey. So, and we don't have to necessarily share what your intention was, unless you want to, but how would you say, what were you expecting? And then what was the result that you actually experienced?
Well, first I just want to say you did an amazing job guiding. Like I should never be worried about that at all because you did fabulous. It was like the perfect cadence, like the music was on point, guys. The playlist she has is fantastic. It was so cool. But yeah, I think what I was expecting, I didn't really know what to expect. I'm gonna be honest. I had no idea what to expect. I was excited. I expected that I might get some, I might get some clarity around a few things and I was really excited for the new like implants for the new identity, the subconscious implants, we'll call it. But what I ended up getting out of it was really like it was very profound. It was a very profound experience. I mean, I legitimately felt like I had taken mushrooms to the point where even after, I think I told you, after the journey, I had like the craziest munchies like you would get like coming down from taking mushrooms. I literally walked out. I told my boyfriend, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I literally just did like I just ate mushrooms. So very cool. But yeah, for me, it was I was very so I love dancing. I'm a dancer anyway. So being able to connect very somatically to the music, I was very excited about, and it worked really well for me. And I found that the level of energy that was created when you can tap into those very specific frequencies, because as we know, frequencies are it's just a sound version of matter. It's one and the same thing. So each frequency holds a different healing to it, right? And so being able to tap into those different frequencies in the music and then I guess aligning it with the different intentions and within my body and my chakras, hopefully that makes sense, created this almost like this, it was like an energetic force field around me. And it's very similar to how I feel when I'm actually doing Reiki work on people and getting into their magnetic field. But it was so strong and it really allowed me to feel where there were some imbalances in myself and use the music and your guidance to like just create this level of alignment and like it's almost like I could feel a cord literally like from source coming through me into the center of the earth. Like it was just there constantly the whole time. There was a lot of like a lot of heart opening, a lot of like it was a crown chakra opening at the end, um, and a lot of insight into just a lot of tears at one point thinking about the new identity and who I really want to embody and who I am at my core and just realizing like hey, I can be that person now. I don't need to wait. It's happening now. And connecting to that person was really magical.
Yeah, you definitely had one of those heart openings that is so, I find, very familiar with mushrooms, like, and it can just happen out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you just like burst into tears. And it's just like there's just all these feelings coming forward. Sometimes it's just sadness, sometimes it's like gratitude, whatever it might be. And it was really interesting to hear that you had that. Um, Now, you also experienced a DMT release,
Yeah.
which I want to say to the audience, some of you probably already know this, but our bodies can produce DMT on their own, which is one of the reasons why we were able to do it, like, in this journey. But one of the easiest ways to do it is through breath work because the largest amount of DMT production happens actually in the lungs. So breath work often can, like, depending on how you're doing it, can often usually bring in visions and a sense of euphoria and all of those kinds of things. But we didn't do breath work through the journey. So would you like to share with the audience what you experienced?
Yeah. So in order to explain it fully, I think I need to give a little bit of background. So when I did the Bufo journey in Thailand, you don't really remember most people don't really remember the like 30 minutes that they're like out. But what I did remember was this very specific like wave motion. It was like my arms doing this like really wavy thing, and it was this movement of like this, it was like being in wave form and being, I think of it as like being in flux with the universe. Um, it's like connecting to the breath of the universe, I think is the best way that I can put it. And just being not physical. So you're kind of like you're entering into another dimension, I would say. Um, so there's that. And then when we did our journey, um, again, like I know what it feels like to have the DMT release into my nervous system, feel it like running through my jaw, like all like through my face, all these things. I got that release of the DMT into my nervous system, and then it's hard to explain, but it kind of like, at least for me, it kind of like it would move me in this motion, and that was happening during our journey. So, there was a little bit of visual, but not so much. It was more so like the euphoric feeling. And then also that, like, again, like, I think it's just like pure alignment, being connected purely to source and in the flow state and just being one with the universe is really how it felt.
Yeah. Okay. So when one of my mushroom journeys, we're going to go to this wave formation. Okay. And I've talked about this, guys, several times on the podcast. I've let you guys know, but we're going to go a little deeper into this. One of my mushroom journeys, I asked, how do I hold and attract and hold more than I've ever, like all the things that I really want for myself? And the one thing I was shown in my journey was be wavy, baby. That's what it kept saying to me. Be wavy, baby. And I was like, oh, okay. And literally, I remember the next night I was playing poker and I was just sitting there. I kept saying, I'm wavy, I'm wavy. And I ended up winning the whole tournament, And so it was like this thing of one, learning how to kind of go into that state, the wave state, which is a state of expansion, guys, like we talked about at the very beginning. The reason is we understand we have a wave state and we have a particle state, right? The wave state, the reason why this is what you feel in the state of expansion is because it's where all possibilities, right? When things are any kind of possibility, they're in wave form. It's when they actually manifest that they come into particle form. So what's happening is when you go into these states, you will literally feel in your body almost like things are separating and becoming like almost like in the
Okay.
Matrix. Yeah, in the Matrix movie where like the bullet kind of goes through him, but like he's able to separate parts of his body and like move. It's literally like that's what's happening to you so that you are literally expanding and allowing for so much more of you to interact with what's possible and for what's possible to come into you because now you're open, right? You're in that wave form and you're not so like hard particle, like this is the way it's got to be and this is the way it is kind of energy. And so being in that wave form that the DMT kind of released into your body was taking you into that state of expansion, which is what I'm teaching. Like you now know how to go into really quickly, which is Great for when you want to be open to new things, start creating more creative juices, teaching yourself how to hold states of expansion for longer periods of time, how to train your body to understand that that state is a safe state to be in. So, like, that's, I think, something that is super cool that you went through. And this is something that also, like, a lot of my clients who are at my retreats will say the same thing, that have similar experiences. So, like, I know that that wave state is like, it's so interesting. I think it's wild on how it also, like, when you're so in tune with your body and you like really feel everything, it's like you can feel like all the cells moving in wave. And like, I don't know, it's like you can even just, it's like everything's kind of separating. It's the wildest feeling, but it's also a place where now you're like saying, okay, like it doesn't have to be just this way. I'm open to other ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's becoming it's the only way for you to become something else is for you to change form and release. So I like that you were talking about what did I want to say? Oh yeah, so okay, before I got really sick, I was really scared of. I've always wanted to be able to, especially after being able to release those experiences where I could release the DMT. I got really scared of not being able to handle it. It actually, for the first time in my life, I was actually scared of losing control in that way. And so I kind of like shut it down. And then I got very sick and whatever. But for the first time since then, doing this journey with you or these journeys has actually made me not afraid of that anymore and actually excited and wanting to now, like knowing that I can tap into that, wanting to do it more and trust myself because as someone who is very interested in the metaphysical, that's very important to me. It's a big part of my work and working with energies in a space to be able to do that and tap into it and be able to actually like direct and manipulate energy in the space. The way you do that is being in waveform. I have to be in waveform in order to work with that energy, or else I'm not going to be open to it. I'm physical. Um I need to be, what's the word? Not particle. I need to be
Oh, wave.
wave. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe, baby.
Maybe, baby.
So it's incredible because this is something that we even discussed, and I discussed this with all of my clients. So for you guys in the audience, this is something for you guys to think about and really pay attention to in your own body and experiences. That there is a fine line of, how they say like pleasure and pain have a very fine line of what is pleasurable and what's actually painful, right? And so the same thing goes with fear and expansion. And so a lot of people misinterpret the actual state of expansion as fear because that's what the body's naturally going to think. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is not what we're familiar with. We do not know what to do with all of this energy, right? Because when your body doesn't have the identity, the brain doesn't have the identity of knowing what to do with it. And so immediately it signals threat, threat, threat. And so it's a fear and it shuts it down. And you guys will not believe how sneaky, your subconscious will be to make sure that shit happens in your life, that your brain starts looking for things that shut it down.
Will
So
actually make you sick.
you actually make
It
you
can
sick.
actually make you sick.
When you just called in a bunch of money, all of a sudden a massive bill shows up to take whatever you just made out the window again. Like whatever. It happens all the time. So it's something that you guys have to be aware of because I think it's one thing to like be able to manifest or call in certain things. It's another thing to hold it and sustain it and have that be your normal new level. And that's what I love working with, you and my clients with is let's make it the new normal so there's no like going back to the old
Yeah.
patterns which the body feels safe with. So now so we did all that and then we did more work. We went deeper into your identity and we started like reworking some things so that we did the second journey and all of that. Is there anything that you want to share with the audience from there and like anything that's happened since like changed?
Yeah, so, well, for one thing, I just want to point out we touched on this before, but I was calling in. One of the big things was public speaking, being more seen. And I think a couple of weeks after we started, I was asked to be on a panel. And it
Yep.
was actually not just asked to be on the panel, I was asked to moderate the panel, which for me was terrifying at first. But after working with you, I actually was very calm and I did really well. I was really proud of myself. So that went great. So, and
Well,
then
wait,
another.
wait. Someone came up to you and said to
Oh
you,
yeah. That's right. So yes, that's right. So when somebody came up to me and they just said, "Wow, I'm just so impressed that you're so confident. Like, how do you have such confidence in yourself to be able to do the things you did? And you're talking about all this." And I'm like, if you only knew how much it took to get me to this point. No, but it was kind of really a confirmation, I want to say, like from the universe, in that you're doing the right work, that you're
yeah,
on the right path, and this is meant for you.
yeah.
Like this is happening for a reason. And also to expand on what you were just saying about being able to hold the expansion, one of my fears, as we talked about before, was not being able to handle it once it came in. So with my physical conditions, I was very afraid that if I did call in the thing that my heart really wants, which is like, a crazy huge wellness center with all of the things, all of the energetic feng shui and biogeometry, all that stuff. If I get projects that are too big, I might not be able to hold it. What if I can't do it? What if it's too much work and I get sick, I burn out, all this stuff? Well, I would just like to say that in this very moment, I am way stretched thin and there's way too much going on and I am totally like headed for burnout. But with that said, I think I am at the max of as busy as I could possibly be, and I'm okay. I might have some symptoms show up. I might be really tired sometimes, but in the past, I would have this huge fear around that and like, oh my God, I'm going to crash. I can't do this. I can't do this. And now it's like, okay, I feel not great right now, but let's just sit with this for a moment. Let's do some somatic presencing, and we have total control over our lives. We can take a moment and, be calm. We can go for a walk. Like I get to choose that. I trust myself enough to make time for that. Trust was a big thing. And I'm at the point now where it's happening. It's actually happening. And I think that is the ego death, is the new thing that's, making me level up, is reaching that max point, and I'm okay.
Mm. Yeah, and it's so important because, and I'm going to actually do a video on this. I don't know if it's going to come out before this podcast or not. I literally wanted to do a video on like spiritual burnout and just burnout in general, but I think healing and spiritual burnout is a thing. Um, but it's so important, and this is something that I am constantly moderating with my new identity, is I do not push myself to the point where I'm going to hit burnout, because that was part of the reason that put me into my ego death last year. Was after the last retreat in September, I had realized I had been going and pushing so hard with so many things, and there was so much shit that was happening behind the scenes in my business that I wasn't able to share with everyone, that I was just, it was never stopping. And then on top of that, I was in a new living situation that was also bringing in all of this like chaotic stuff. And so I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Right. And so finally, when October hit, that's when I just started to drop into this ego death. And part of it was realizing, Nicole, you will never be able to get to where you want to get if this is the way you operate, right? Like burnout can never be part of your identity, which means I can't be the one who pushes myself to the very edges and can still do more, And I realized like there's got to be a different way. So now in my new identity, it's like, and thank God I have my dog Addie here, who constantly comes up and whines at me. It's time to go for a walk. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, we can step away for 15 minutes to go for a walk. I can come right back to this desk, whatever. But it gets me out in the sun. It gets me fresh air. I get to spend more quality time with her, which is really about when you guys are going into your new identities, you're going to learn that you have different values of where you really want to spend your time and what's important to you, what really fills your cup, right? And not push those things to the side in the sake of what you think you're supposed to be doing, what you think people want you to do. So I think that's really important, that you're able to manage that and make sure that you're taking time out for yourself because burnout is there's nothing cool about burnout. Like it's one of those things where I'd done so many cycles of it. By the time I hit this last one, I'm like, I'm there, I did not recover anywhere near close to anywhere that I've ever recovered before. So, but like that's the thing. Sometimes we need to learn our lessons the hard way, right? And like that is certainly something that I've noticed about myself. So sometimes I have to get completely bitch slapped by the universe. So
Here for
now
it. It's worth it.
what I want the audience to know, because I think this is super cool. I've never discussed this on the show before, so this is a first for the Enlighten Up podcast. But you do design, like interior design and kind of space design. And so one of the things that you talked about with me, because this is something that we needed to put into your new identity that you would own, is that you work with biogeometry, which I didn't know what that was, and I'll let you share with the audience. But basically, you create vortexes in people's spaces, and I'm like, well, you got to own that, right? So share with the audience kind of what that is and like where it comes from.
Yeah, so okay, so as Nicole said, I'm an interior designer. I do full scope interior design. I do traditional interior design, but what really lights me up is the energetic side. So things like biogeometry and feng shui. I think most people are familiar with feng shui, with at least a basic understanding of what it is. Biogeometry is another energetic practice, but it is very rooted in the physical world as well. So it is an ancient Egyptian practice, and it does pull from other parts of the world as well, but very much rooted in ancient Egyptian practice, but modernized by Dr. Ibrahim Karim. And it is the study of the energy qualities of shapes, colors, sounds, numbers, to create multidimensional harmonious environments. And it's done, there's so many layers of it. And I will say this, speaking about it, the biogeometry world, they're very particular in what you share because they want to keep the integrity of the practice. So I'm going to not speak too much about too many things, just to respect that. But I will say that you can use what we do is work with, especially in design. So let's talk, you can use it as like an energy practice like Reiki. There's that part of it. But for me personally, I learned it because Dr. Ibrahim Karim is an architect. So he was using it to find out how to create this beneficial energy. He calls it BG3, biogeometry 3. It is you could call it like a beneficial life force energy. It's like the most simple way to put it, but it's a collection of a few different energy qualities that create this like really transformative. It's kind of like it's like the life creation energy. So he, through lots and lots of research, figured out specific shapes and colors and combinations and things that would create this energy and how you can use it in the built environment. So through using shape itself, and then also through using, we have these pendulums that are calibrated to the BG3 energy. So I can work with elements in your space to how do I say this, to get them in the right angle to create the BG3 as it is related to your environment. And then also, what was I going to say? I lost it.
Okay, well, while you're thinking about it, I'm just going to say what I think is so cool about this is that I wonder if you would be so inclined to do this had you not gone through such a nervous system breakdown with your body, right? Of like needing to calibrate your space around you and all. Like, I feel like that's got to have played some role.
Yes, thank you for saying that. That was the thing I wanted to say. So, you read my mind. So, a big, big part of the practice, surprise, surprise, Nicole read my mind. A big part of the practice is a lot of what he does is to combat Wi-Fi and electrosmog. So that's a growing concern in our modern world with we're constantly surrounded by energy, batteries, computers, cell phones, cell phone towers, now uh smart, was not smart cars,
Smart everything.
smart, yeah, smart everything, smart homes, all of that. I
Yeah.
mean, like in a car, in an electric car, you're literally sitting on a huge battery. Like that's really not good for you. I know
Hmm.
that it's supposed, well, another topic, it's supposed to be better for the environment, even though it uses gas.
Yeah, no.
Um,
We know it's not better for the environment in the long run.
um,
Basically,
but
like,
it's really not good for your body, your nervous
yeah.
system, and so many other things. So he created these specific devices that combat that, certain things that there's shapes that you can use that combat this. And then also the thing that really, really drove me to it that I love so, so much, is working with earth energies. So it's a sort of like a same as like dowsing. We have these pendulums and rods that can detect the earth energy grids around you, and there's beneficial, you can, it detects the beneficial areas, but also these grid lines, it's geopathic, they can cause geopathic stress, and so you don't want them going running through your bed or through your desk area, somewhere where you sit all the time, because that can be really bad. They've found that, it can cause all kinds of issues if they've tracked it back to that. So that's a huge thing. And then also working to, you can harmonize them. So with the harmonization of the earth energy grids and using these specific shapes and colors and things in your space to create this, literally like a healing energy vortex. And then I layered on with things like neuroaesthetics and feng shui and things like that, to where you can attune it to the space, the history of the land itself, the people who are inhabiting it. Like it's such a multi-layered practice, but you can kind of, it's like creating your own cocktail of what you want to experience in a space, essentially.
Oh, that's so cool. I kind of want to bring you to Colorado. Come to my home and my office, please.
Colorado's my home too, so I'm happy to come anytime.
I know. Oh my God. So that sounds so wild. So, yeah, working obviously in places such as wellness centers, healing centers, all of those kinds of things definitely benefit from having this work done because it only amplifies what the clients are going to be feeling when they're in there, as well as the people who are working there.
Yeah. And if I wasn't sick, I wouldn't be as interested in the neuro. Like I would. I'm like, going to school, I heard about the, well building, healthy interiors. I'm like, oh, it's cool. Like I'll probably learn that one day. But now I'm like, I need to know this now. Like this needs to be in every single home. Everyone needs to be doing these practices. Like it's almost a non-negotiable now. So I wouldn't have the respect for it had I not gone through that through
Yeah.
the last 5 years.
And here's the thing too, guys, like, and you said this at the very beginning, so we're kind of coming full circle now, is that a lot of times there are things that are happening in your life that you can't understand the bigger plan yet, but you will get to a point where when you can, and of course it's like hindsight, right? Of course. It's designed that way on purpose, but you'll look back, you're like, oh, now I understand why I did that and why I did this. Like, guys, just I took massage therapy, right? I started off with massage therapy, and sure, you could just be like, well, you loved health and healing. It was alternative wellness and all of that. But guys, me working with the body, and not only that, like, okay, working with the body, I could feel so much, and I could feel how the body would like resist things and how I needed to work with it to like release tension or what would create emotional releases within my clients. So I was getting so familiar with the body, but also one of the things that I took, which is a very one-off thing, was I took live cell microscopy, which was learning how to analyze live blood cells under a dark field microscope. And I did that because I could actually see someone's health on a cellular level and tell them, hey, that liver supplement you're taking, it's not actually working in your body. Either it's not a good supplement, you're just pissing it out in the toilet or whatever, but you've got a lot of liver stress. Or the vitamin C that you're working, it's showing that you're vitamin C deficient. But the really cool thing about it was I could see how the cells moved and they interacted with one another as if they were still inside your body. So when like I'm guiding you guys and doing this work, like I'm getting into it, I'm getting into the body and I know how to like everything's moving and how I'm communicating with the body. So it literally has added so much deeper levels and layers to the work of me guiding people into ceremony and getting them into their bodies. And when I'm anything that I'm doing that's guided and speaking, a lot of that comes from that, which I would have never known when I was taking it. I just thought I loved making people feel better. I loved massage, like I just thought, yeah, which it was, but there was so much more. And sometimes those things don't start to really kind of all come together until later on when you're at your, who knows, third level, fourth level, fifth level of whatever it is that you're going into.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I feel like in this, like a lot in the spiritual community, the body doesn't get the credit it deserves. The
It
body
does
is very
not.
important. People want to just bypass the body. It's no, like we are 3D. We are a physical form in this reality. Our bodies are our temples. They are very important, just as important as our spaces, right? So the fact that you are working with the body or you were working with it's sacred that our bodies experience or our physical experiences can give us so much information if we just take the time to listen to it.
Yeah. Even my travels and me writing my book 10 years ago, Inflexible Me, right? Which, was just kind of like a little eat, pray, love of my self love, my journey with self love and my hatred for my own body, like in a sense of like, you're not doing what I want. It's just really how my body became my greatest teacher of the messages that I needed to be paying attention to, what it was trying to communicate to me. And you couldn't have said it more perfectly. The body does not get the credit it deserves in the spiritual journey of mastery here. Like as humans, like yes, of course. Initially you're going to be like, yeah, I want to like astral travel and I want to like be outside of my body and I want to like travel across the galaxies and meet different ET races or whatever it is that you're like into, right? But ultimately, when it comes down to it and where you're going to make the most impact, which is, of course, your life here on earth, your body is the key. It's the mastery that you want. So, like, until you're getting to that place where you have mastery over your body, you know how to utilize the technology that we have to hold more, change your life, bring in more expansion, bring in the abundance that you want. Like the keys are absolutely in the body. And guys, I can't emphasize that enough. So I'm so glad you said it like that, Brittany.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, our chakras, I know they're energetic, but they're also physical. They're related to our organs in different parts, and that's literally how we um understand energy. That's how we, what's the word I'm looking for? We process energy, the energetics. It's through our body. We can't be here without it. We can't, it's so integral. It's not separate from
Yeah,
anything spiritual.
yeah, exactly. And so whatever you guys have done in your life where you like, I don't know if it was the right thing. Like I could easily back in my mid 20s where like, I spent 10 grand at 25 on a dark field microscope thinking, oh yeah, this is going to generate a lot of money for me with my clients. It's going to change my clients' lives, whatever. But I just couldn't market it the way, because I'll just say I wasn't a great marketer for sure. I was a great massage therapist, but I was not a good marketer. And also worked with a woman in her space who did not like that I was bringing in something she was not like a superstar at. And so like seeing me kind of like show something to her clients that she couldn't operate with, there's an ego struggle there too. So I ended up not really utilizing it that much. And then I moved down to the island and I didn't bring it with me. And so I ended up just selling it. And I just thought, well, what was the point of that, But later in life, I'm like, oh, no, it does play a role still. Like it was a good investment, like all of those kinds of things. So it's really important to not discount anything that you've done. And that's why don't worry about taking wrong steps forward or doing something that maybe doesn't work out, because you have no idea where and when it's going to show up as a necessary tool for you in and possibly skill that's going to be part of your thing down the road. So I think this is like also when paralysis sets in for you guys of like, hey, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And I don't know, is it time? Am I ready? Like just move forward. Just start moving forward, because clarity does not come before action.
Mhm.
Clarity always comes after action. So if you're looking for clarity, you will not get it until you start making some moves forward. So I think that's super important. So, what would you, in kind of closing here, Brittany, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience to let them know? Like, I know there's some people who've thought about maybe becoming the medicine, but obviously, look, it's not for beginners. Okay. It's not a beginner level kind of program. But if there's anything that you would like to say to those who are like feeling that they're ready for something like that, what would you share with them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're listening to this podcast to begin with, that is probably a sign. If you were drawn to this podcast and you want to learn more episode, it it's clearly a sign that it's probably meant for you. And if you're getting pings at all, like you're wanting to level up, but you're not really sure how, or I've been thinking about trying plant medicine, but I haven't yet. I'm kind of scared too. I'm not really sure what it's going to feel like. Um, I think that this is definitely a great segue into that if you ever want to try it, if you ever want to try it, but also you might find you don't need to because this program is so awesome that you can tap into it naturally. Um, and yeah, definitely like if you're getting the pings to level up and do it, just I would just sign up. Like you're not going to regret it. You're not going to regret it at all. Nicole was amazing. Working with you was fantastic. And again, like as being someone, I have a lot of experience in this stuff, and even still, like you blew my mind to another level. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
because I didn't realize that I knew that you had done a lot of work, but I didn't realize that, a lot of like you've been doing a lot of this work, but you hadn't gotten this quickly of a result in such a short period of time. So then that's the thing. Like I love to collapse time for people, and there is a way. There is a way to do it. It's not like just me telling you, oh, because it sounds good and it's too good to be true. It's not. If you're ready and you've done some of the work, like, look, we can collapse time around that. But you got to show up for it. Like you can't not show up for it and then it happen.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, I appreciate it. And I think too, everyone, like, look, this is the year of the fire horse. Ooh, and would you say things are moving quickly right now?
Oh my gosh, crazy. Yeah, like I said, I'm maxed out. I mean, in a great way, but yes, very fast.
Yeah. So like super happy that you've got like your business is thriving. You finally got the money from clients that were withholding and all of that. This is, guys, the state of expansion. It's so important to understand one, what it feels like, not just for the sake of knowing what it feels like, but because your body has to get used to knowing how to hold more of whatever it is that you want, because more is just more, right? Like, and so obviously, if you're in a place of a lot of chaos right now, more sounds like a really shitty thing. But that's because that's all your body knows. And that's the identity that you're holding. And so learning how to, one, shift out of that, like let that identity die, create a completely new identity, have that rewired into you, which is what we do through this program, but also teach your body how to generate the state of expansion and learn that, hey, this is safe and I
Mhm.
can hold this. And I actually can just, whenever I'm wanting to go into certain states of flow or creativity or whatever it is, you can do it on demand. And that's
Yes.
the beautiful thing. You don't need to take a microdose or do a mushroom journey or an ayahuasca trip. Like, again, not that we don't love all those things, but you don't want to rely on those things all the time, right? You don't want that to be your crutch. So, this is definitely something that can help you guys make that shift. As like Brittany was saying, things are happening so fast. I'm feeling it, like just it's just one thing after another. And I'm going to tell you, like the amount of opportunities that have already come across my desk, just in the short period of the fire horse starting. I'm so happy that I'm in this new identity, being able to recognize the opportunities, knowing when to say yes, where my old identity would have said no, and missed out on some shit. So I don't want you guys to miss out on stuff. I don't want you guys to waste more time staying where you're at when you're not happy being there. All right. So I'm going to
Knowing
leave the link. Pardon?
and knowing when to say no with your new if something doesn't align with your new identity, which has been very apparent for me as well.
Yeah. You got to know when to say no, right? Which is hard for people pleasers.
Yes.
Hard for people pleasers. So I'm going to leave the link for Becoming the Medicine down below. We start March 25th. And of course, if that's something that you're just not ready for yet, you can always do a fire horse reading for me, which I will also leave in the link below. But do something, guys. Take initiative, because if you are waiting, you will never get the clarity. I can't stress this enough. Action always comes before clarity. You don't need to do all the things. You just need to take a step into some action that you're not familiar taking. Okay, that's the key. And I promise you, things will start to shift and change for you. Brittany, what if someone wants to work with you or reach out to you? I know you're busy right now, but down the line in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at design_studio36 or designstudio36.com. Those are probably the best two places to get a hold of me. And yeah, I would love to hear from any of you if you want to connect and ask how my experience was or talk about anything I said that interests you or that you can relate to and, just want to go over. I'm happy. Feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to leave those in the show notes for you guys to easily access. Thank you, Brittany, for coming on the show. First of all, I'm just going to say you did a fantastic job using your voice. Okay, you're like a
Okay.
natural at this. We love your new identity. We love
Okay,
her.
good. Good.
Oh my goodness. So, and also guys, can you please leave comments for Brittany, whether it's on YouTube or on Spotify, but let her know, like, she had nothing to worry about, right? Which is what you guys should all know about yourselves. You have nothing to worry. You already are who you need to be. Okay, so
Absolutely.
take the steps forward. All right, so guys, I love you. Have an incredible week, and I will be back with you next time. Thanks again for joining me for another show on the Enlighten Up podcast. I love you guys so much for all of your continued support. So remember to raise your vibe, find your tribe, and be open to the infinite possibilities held in the mysteries that surround us all. Thanks again for sharing the show with your family and friends. And if you're new to the show and you need to find out more information about me, please head on over to my website, NicoleFrolick.com, where you can join my newsletter. And please follow me on Instagram, Telegram, and YouTube. Keep your light bright, and I'll see you next week.